Okay. Hey, Pop.
What's up, Sonny boy?
Just thought we'd talk a bit about what's going on in the world.
Yeah. What you got there?
Well, last week, the 2018 State of the Union address by Donald Trump. The State of the Union. Every president gives it, and gives like the current state.
How did it go in your
of our country? Like about. Yeah, I find myself really liking to listen to Donald Trump for some reason. I'm not sure why. Donald Trump. Was like a businessman, but he was like a TV kind of actor, like Ronald Reagan, and like on reality shows, and now he's like president. It's so weird.
He knew his stuff to get there.
Well, I think he just had a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So he was able to afford to get into the race, and then the advertising to get his name on the ballot, and then turns out he pulled it off, and he won.
Surprised some people, huh?
Yeah, he surprised a lot of people, I think. Everybody's, all of the media hate Trump. Everywhere you look, there's an anti-Trump this, anti-Trump that. Saturday Night Live, they talk about how they're, how bad Trump is. And so I thought I would just read. So from the Wikipedia page, the 2018 State of the Union address was given by the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, on Tuesday, January 30th, 2018, last week, at 9 p.m. in the chamber of the United States House of Representatives. So,
how did it turn out?
Yeah, it was good. He doesn't sound to me like he's reading. It doesn't sound to me like he's reading somebody else's script. It sounds to me like he fully believes what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's not just reading a script. And I couldn't see. I watched the whole speech, and I couldn't see they have those, what are those called? Those things that scroll by the words for you. I forgot what they call it, but it's, I don't know how he was able to give this speech. He must have been reading it from somewhere. But I couldn't see from the camera angle where this thing was he was reading, because he was looking out towards the audience. And so I thought today we would talk a little bit, just my impressions of the State of the Union speech, and then we would get to some news articles from Red Ice Radio, Red Ice TV. So there was, the first comment is that he was, they have the State of the Union there, they have the House of Representatives. The one side is the Republicans, and the other side is the Democrats. And they, because there's mostly a Republican, Trump is a Republican candidate, and his cabinet is mostly all Republicans as well.
Yep.
And so every time he said something, about 100 times, people are standing up and down and clapping, and standing up and down and clapping, and standing up and down and clapping. And you could see it was all the Republicans standing up and clapping. Oh, that's great what he said. He would say something like, let's do it for the children. And all the Republicans would stand up and clap, and the Democrats would just sit there. So funny. Weird. But it's a way to sort of see that, whether you believe something or not, whether by whether or not you stand up and clap. So it was just weird to see how half the people did it and half the people didn't.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, it was just all Republicans clapping and Democrats looking sorry. So I'll just focus on one thing that I thought he talked about that was that I liked, and he talks about the immigration, and he said that he gave his 4 pillars of immigration. Pillar number 1, path to citizenship for 1.8 million immigrants. They were brought here if they were young and they meet certain educational work requirements and show a good moral character. So he's talking about, having a plan for the immigrants.
Yep, bringing the young people along too.
Yeah, if they were brought here when they were young and they study and they work hard and they show good moral character, then they can stay here.
Yeah, they deserve it.
He doesn't have any plans for, and again, this is a quote unquote democracy, so it's we get to vote on what we want. It's not president. It's not some kind of dictator. He doesn't have powers to. I think supposedly on the books, if executive orders may kind of make him a dictator, but I don't think that really the people would stand for executive order. 7 executive orders a week. I don't really know the numbers, but we supposedly live in a system that is self-correcting and lets the people sort of decide. So, but with that said, Trump doesn't have any plans for kicking out all of the immigrants. He's got a plan for close to 2 million immigrants to stay here, and if they're going to be drug addicts and gang bangers, and they're not going to get to stay. But anyway, he's got a good plan for that. Okay, pillar number 2. Fully secures the border with a great wall on the southern border, and he wants to give more money to ICE, the immigration authority, and also wants to close some loopholes for the criminals, who can stay here if they have enough money to hire a good lawyer, and also ends the catch and release thing that is not apparently a good thing. You catch somebody and you release them because you're not allowed to ask them their ethnicity, or I'm not exactly sure about it, but he wants to build a wall. Pillar number 3, it ends the visa lottery, and it just, as opposed to a merit-based visa system, it would be just you draw your name out of a hat. Right, so there would be, he wants to have a merit-based immigration system. Like the good people would get to stay, and the bad ones we kick out. That makes sense. Pillar number 4 protects the nuclear family by ending chain migration, where somebody comes in and gets a visa to come in, and then he's allowed to bring in all of his family, all of his grandparents, all of his aunts and uncles, and all of their children, just because he already lives here, so that chain migration thing would end. So he's taking a stand on immigration, and the reason this is important to me, because immigration is one of the most important issues that we have. So let's go over some stories in Red Ice TV, and we'll they have a few stories in there about immigration, which has just destroyed France and Germany and Sweden. Really, just destroyed them. They're no longer France. They're no longer Sweden. Or here's the top story. Sweden has just launched it just went by. Sweden just gave their cultural directorship to a uneducated immigrant for Swedish culture. I don't see how that's how that makes sense. All right, so let's see. So this news feed is from Red Ice TV, and the guy there is based in Sweden, so he's got some stories on Sweden. Swedish police in Malmö now armed with machine guns to take back control. So the Sweden was the rape capital of Europe in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're armed with machine guns. Little Sweden, poor cute Sweden, so beautiful, and now they have machine guns on the street. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
And angry Uma Thurman is ready to talk about Harvey Weinstein and Quentin Tarantino. An angry Uma.
She wants to talk now.
Yeah, well, there's a big sexual... It seems like the Jews are throwing each other under the bus about who's... all these sexual predator allegations, these sexual misconduct allegations. You know, there was a while there, when was it, like November, December, something, where a string of people got fired from their jobs for sexual misconduct, or at least allegations for sexual misconduct. So it seems people are coming out of the woodwork now to talk to their talk about how Hollywood especially is filled with rapists and child rapists, for crying out loud. German women launch campaign highlighting horrific violence against women as a result of mass immigration.
Mm-hmm.
Frauen wird euch, which I think means German women rise up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the group, which calls itself 120 decibels after the sound intensity of rape alarms, launched a video this week in which, let's see, this is from February 1st, 2018. Launched a video this week in which several members list the names of recent victims of violence committed by asylum seekers. The women in the video reference the recent case of a girl called Mia, who was stabbed to death by her former asylum seeker boyfriend in the German city of Kandel, as well as Maria Ladenberger, who was raped and killed allegedly by a migrant who lied about being underage, and an 11-year-old Ebba Aukerlund, who was torn in half after being struck by a lorry during the Stockholm terror attack last year. So the asylum seekers are basically the Africans. They were called Syrians, but a small percentage are from Syria. But a lot are from sub-Saharan Africa and from they're Africans basically coming through.
I thought they were being recruited too.
Somebody's paying for their plane tickets to go up to Germany.
Yeah.
I mean, it's expensive to get up there. So these guys are supposedly refugees, asylum seekers, fleeing war-torn countries. And the numbers are overwhelmingly males, fighting age males between 18 and 35. So it's like a invasion. It's not a. It seems like on paper it seems like an invasion. All of these black fighting age men are coming into Northern Europe, and you can see reports of them going into Greece and Turkey and then where they're safe. But they're not happy there because they want to get the German money, the big white money. So they keep going. So they're not. Maybe if they were seeking asylum, they got it in Turkey. So why do they have to go all the way to Germany? They're not fleeing from Turkey to Germany to seek asylum. They're seeking something else there. So they're for sure not asylum seekers. They're maybe immigrants or something else, but they're causing immense trouble, raping the women, and they're just acting crazy. they're attacking little boys and girls in swimming pools.
How long has that been going on?
Well, it really started in 2015, but it's been going on. The immigration thing, the Immigration Act was signed when I was born, 1965. So it's been going on for 52 years at least. But it really came into the media in 2015. So we'll go on to another story, but there's really some immigration things are coming to the United States too, but it's just tore up Europe. Terrible, something terrible. So Malmo reveals deep state media coordination. News article cited by FBI based on Steele leaks. American tragedy. Let's see what this is. This is from February 3rd, 2018. The FBI and the Department of Justice used a new news article published on Yahoo News to bolster its case for surveillance of Trump campaign associate Carter Page, deliberately omitting or unaware that the information in the article had the same source as the infamous dossier itself, according to House Intelligence Committee memo released Thursday. Now there's some talk about that in the news. If the memo's assertions are true, the FBI and the Department of Justice knew that the Democratic National Committee funded Fusion GPS dossier and its author, former British spy Christopher Steele, were motivated by political bias against Donald Trump. They also likely knew that the article in question, Michael Isaacov's September 23, 2016, U.S. intel officials probe ties between Trump advisor and Kremlin, merely repeats the information Steele made in his dossier. With the dossier, which also included an outlandish story of Trump committing a series of urological sex acts in a Moscow hotel, I think that's like peeing, increasingly called into question. Department of Justice and FBI attacks backed it up with Isaacov's story explicitly denying the fact that it had the exact same sourcing, Steele, and presented it as corroboration. So it goes on to say that, well, I'm not exactly sure about this, but it sounds like to me that some guy wrote a letter, just guy wrote a letter, and then all of a sudden that's grounds for Trump collusion with Russia. And see, again, people are attacking Trump all from left and the right, the media, the Department of Justice. The fact that he's being attacked so by these giant institutions, it should tell you that.
Tell you something.
Yeah, that these giant institutions don't like him. I mean, what does that tell you?
They do what they got to do to get rid of him.
Yeah, they're really trying to get rid of him.
Yep.
A Russian plane went down. Let's see. FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe stepping down. He stepped down, so this was from January 29th, 2018. He stepped down on Monday. Multiple sources familiar with the matter told NBC News McCabe will remain on the FBI payroll. One source said McCabe was exercising his retirement eligibility. Well, I don't know what's going on there. Too white. Norway's new government grilled for lack of diversity.
Too white nowadays.
From January 30th, 2018. Among the 68 ministers and secretaries in Norway's new government, only 2 appeared to be of minority background, despite 1 in 6 Norwegians currently being of immigrant background. This overwhelming whiteness has triggered fierce criticism from human rights activists. So, human rights activists. Fear and loathing on Parliament Hill. Will the hashtag #MeToo implicate Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada? Is a very, very powerful politician about to be outed? High-profile Liberal operative Warren Kinsella has thrown the Canadian political scene into high anxiety by stating a very, very powerful, quote, quote, politician is about to be outed by the Me Too movement, which I think the Me Too movement is like saying is the raped people girls who were raped or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had, if the guys are whistling at you or something, you hashtag Me Too on Twitter and say, oh yeah, these guys were whistling at me today on the way to work. Me too. Well, very soon, apparently, maybe within hours, this is from February 1st, 2018, those not in the loop can be forgiven for not noticing, but those who live in the bubble of federal and provincial politics are more than simply intrigued by the potential of a famous name being destroyed. A lot of gossips here. I don't want to read too many gossips. Syrian peace talks in Russia. 1,500 delegates, mostly pro-Assad. Most of Syria's rebel groups refused to come to the Russian-sponsored peace conference in the resort town of Sochi on Tuesday. This was from February 4th, 2018. Those who did come refused to leave the airport. Those who did come refused. Some delegates said there was no point in drafting proposals because the talks' final statement was largely agreed upon before they began. Instead, some brought empty suitcases to fill with Russian goods to sell back home, and the schedule was almost evenly split between talks and meals. It might have been a blah blah blah. I don't really know what's going on there. A Russian jet is downed. Well, a lot of things happen in the news. I guess it's mostly bad news.
And you don't see the jet shot down all the time.
Well, let's see. Russian Su-25 jet downed in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
Pilot killed. From February 4th, 2018. A Russian Su-25 jet has crashed in Idlib province in northwestern Syria. The Russian Defense Ministry confirmed that it was probably shot down by Manpad. The pilot ejected but was killed by militants on the ground. Oh my God. Preliminary data showed the Su-25 plane was downed by a man-portable air defense system. Manpad. The ministry said in a statement on Thursday. The attack took place when the jet was flying over the Idlib de-escalation zone on Saturday. Well, Syria. Diaspora Ministry unveils system for tracking online anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism. People who practice yoga contribute to white supremacy.
It's anti-Semitic.
What, being white?
No,
Oh, yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga is anti-Semitic, you're saying. How's that?
Yeah.
Well,
People who practice yoga contribute to the white supremacy.
From January 31st, 2018, people who do a downward-facing dog are contributing to a system of power, privilege, and oppression, according to a Michigan State University professor. Shrina Gandhi, a religious studies professor at Michigan State, claims in an article she recently co-authored that Americans who practice yoga are contributing to white supremacy and promote the yoga industrial complex. White Americans should learn yoga's history, acknowledge the cultural appropriation they engage in, and possibly reduce the cost of yoga classes for poor people. A group that often includes people of color and recent immigrants, such as Indian women whom this practice rightfully belongs. Most of that was quoted by Gandhi. Gandhi argued. She co-authored the. It's crazy. It's crazy. Women denied emotional support peacock on United flight. So you can have your dogs on the airplane now, but you can't have peacocks, I guess.
A little too much, I guess.
A little too much, I guess. Norway ski team sweater featuring ancient Tyre rune. Oh, the ancient Tyre rune. Right, it's the upward pointing arrow, which looks like. Editor's note, is very fitting that Norway's alpine ski team would have the Tyre rune stitched into its jumpers. It is representative of the Norse god Tyr, or Tyr, or Tuv in the Anglo-Saxon, hence Tuv's Day or Tuesday. Tyr is a warrior god. The appearance of the Tyr rune in any rune regarding indicates impending battle, competition, and vigorous expenditure of energy. So, I guess there's people that are upset about it.
What?
Oh, Zosha's here. Welcome, Zosha. 26 minutes into it. I think, well, we can read the article, but I think this little up arrow here is got some people up in arms.
At the Norway ski sweater team.
Yeah, the Norway ski team sweater featuring ancient Tyre rune results in Europhobic hysteria. The article below is reductive and nihilistic in its dismissal of the rune's significance.
What time is it?
It is 9:45.
I thought 9 o'clock was on.
Alright, so let's cut this show short this week because we got to go dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's end it there, Pop.
Mm-hmm.
And, the news is bad news anyway.
Oh, the news is bad news.
But, we got to go dancing now, so pick it up a little bit. Alright, so signing off.
Signing off. See you on the next turn.
Alright.